It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out of my mind. It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. I'm putting you out, trash day. I'm putting you out of my mind. Now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up the house. I'm taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage.
It starts with some beer, so you shouldn't have fear. Two garbage guys with facts, but they both still have tact. It's that time at last for the best damn podcast. It's Can Crusher Day!
And welcome to Can Crushers on the road. Mark is in Kentucky. Paul is still at work. Literally, Paul, welcome aboard.
Literally on the road right now. I'm driving in my car, getting done with work a little later than normal. It's been a hell week here, Mark, without you. I mean, I'd hate to tell you that you actually do something around here, but you actually do something around here.
And I don't miss it at all.
Oh, I bet not. I hope you're having a great time rubbing elbows with the bigwigs, bro.
Yeah, getting to go to OVW Davis Arena tonight. Excited about that. A lot will be happening on the old Facebooks here in the next couple of days. But we have a little bit of a storm, so it's a hotel day for us today, so which isn't bad.
Well, I mean, it'll probably be a good little family time. I've seen you guys have been going to, like, Nashville and Louisville and all sorts of stuff. You took a big picture of a bat. Seen you getting fresh with Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, Carrie and I, we have a date next week, actually. So, yeah, we're going out on it.
Nice. Hope Kelly at least met Luke Bryan.
Well, she did. She got to rub elbows with Luke Bryan, too, at the same place that we saw Carrie.
You're lucky she didn't rub more than elbows.
They didn't have much to say to us, though. They kind of just shunned us and sent us along the way, but I don't know.
They're celebrities. They're stuck up. They're not supposed to talk to us.
Right. So, hey, there was some big shit this weekend. Did you watch AEW?
Oh, my God, what a show.
Right?
Like, I don't know if I'm just excited because it's something other than WWE or if it was really that good of a show. And really, it was that good of a show.
It was, I watched it in bits and pieces, and I'm not going to lie. My favorite match.
Mark, I literally cried during part of AEW because it just hit me right in the feels.
The Dustin and Cody match. If it didn't hit you in the feels, you were not. You're
not a man. You obviously don't have siblings. I guess you can't say you're not a man, but you obviously don't have siblings because that is like one of the best parts of the whole show.
Yeah, and it was probably the best wrestling match, and I say wrestling match, Paul, in forever because it wasn't entertainment. It was a freaking wrestling match.
There wasn't much backstory involved in any of this. It was wrestling. Yeah. And that told the story. Wrestling told the story in the whole AEW show.
Another thing I want to ask you about is what do you think was the biggest surprise of the night? And I'm going to bring them all to you. Do you think it was Moxley, Amoxicillin, or Moxapan, whatever you called him, was there? Do you think it was Awesome Kong, or do you think it was who held the heavyweight championship?
Honestly, the biggest, and I didn't really know much about it going in, because I don't read like you do. I think my biggest surprise was JR as an announcer and how fresh he was. Because he didn't get all excited about stuff. He was excited, but he told the story too. Like, it was great announcing the whole time. Yeah. That would be my big surprise.
Wow. I was thinking that you were going to say the old Bret Hart, but yeah, that JR is good. I mean, he's classic. He's awesome. Him and the King together are, and I don't want to take away the Professor's shtick because that's what he talks about, but you miss somebody actually talking about wrestling.
Yeah, and like actual wrestling. Like, he knows the business very well, and it was nice to see him back in the saddle, I guess you could say. Calling the slobber knockers.
Yeah, back in the saddle. For sure that we all need to get together and actually watch the next one, because watch it in clips was great. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. I watched it at baseball games. I watched it at the hotel. I watched it at a bar. I watched it everywhere. But damn, I want to watch one with my boys, and the next one is on pace to be, I don't know if it can be even better than Double or Nothing, but it's got to be damn well par with it, huh?
So far, it's been pretty steadily getting better.
Yeah.
Do you think Double or Nothing was better than All In?
But yes.
I agree with you, and it was. I think that it was just, I mean, it's fantastic. It's nice to be a wrestling fan again.
It is. There's some freshness in the air, and yeah. All right. So, what was your? I know your match of the night was definitely Cody and Dustin, but what else do you want to talk about? You told me off air, and it pisses me off, so I'm going to throw you under the table. Why did you not watch the Britt Baker match? Where were you not to see the doctor?
So here's the thing. Like, I wasn't even going to watch it until I could sit down and actually watch it. And then I was sitting on my front porch, drinking a beer, scrolling through Facebook, and this live feed shows up, and it's the whole match. And it was the whole night, and I didn't get a chance to watch the Britt Baker part of it. I started right about the tag team match.
Yeah, and there's
nothing, the Young Bucks and
there was nothing wrong with the tag team match. As I said with Chad, it really wasn't spotty. You know, they did their things, but it wasn't spotty as WWE spotty, because it was innovative.
Because it was all spots. It was all spots. It was, you know what I mean? Like, it was a nonstop action kind of match.
Yeah, it really was.
I was exhausted watching it. I had to crack open another beer just watching it.
Gutting the beer sweats.
That was probably my second favorite match of the night, was the tag team match, actually.
Nice, all right.
Omega and Jericho killed it, but the Young Bucks were fantastic.
Yeah, they are just, they're high speed. And the Lucha Brothers are just as high speed. You know, they're made for each other. They really are. And rematches are going to be had, and you're going to see this a couple more times, and I'm all right with it. We always say, as long as there's a story behind it, we're all right with it.
But there's nothing else that's going to get stale with that, because right now it's just pay-per-views. Like, there's no show. So, like, I don't get to see them wrestle each other every week.
Right, yeah. You're not going to see them run in and do this and run in and do that like we do on the other networks and everything. But you're right, because it's only pay-per-views. And there's going to be two more until October.
Right. And I know that you're not going to get to talk to me with Raw and SmackDown because we're both busy and it's crazy hectic. But right now with Dolph Ziggler, that whole shtick is fantastic, I think. And I know that you're not going to like that because he's kind of a crybaby, but it's different. It's not the same, I don't think. To me, it's not.
I'm all right with the Dolph Ziggler thing. I'm all right with the crybaby thing. He just doesn't need to repeat himself. And
over and over again.
Yeah, and I'll get into that during the Raw and SmackDown segment of why it's all being done. But so you'll have to listen, Paul. But I
always listen. And I hope you get into the Brock party and shut that shit off.
Right. I actually missed that coming home a little bit late, the Brock party, so thank God. I'll touch on it, but
you didn't miss anything.
It was garbage.
All of it's garbage. Speaking of garbage, now I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about something.
All right.
And I just lost it.
All right, well, Paul will be back here at the end of the show. We will catch up with him. He's going to go lift or do something because he's got a lot going on, right?
Yeah, I will see you at the end of the show.
So, OVW 1032. Wow, guys, I'm actually in Kentucky recording an OVW report. pretty surreal. Pretty surreal. As don't forget, this Saturday, June 1st, it will be the Combine. You've seen it all over Facebook, from Chad Miller to Al Snow to me to Paul. Everybody is posting about it. It's going to be huge. It's Wednesday. I will be at Davis Arena tonight. Maybe get some little bit of Facebook live there. But Saturday, it will be all about OVW on Facebook. So let's run through OVW 1032 real quick, as I'm going to see 1033 tonight. Nigel Winters takes on Adam Revolver, and Nigel's just quick, but Adam's got the experience. One mistake, and Adam gets Nigel in the sleeper, and boom, Adam Revolver wins. Smooth comes out with the rule book, and this rule book looked like it was War and Peace, or I don't know. It was the largest rule book I've seen, yet it was a small rule book. You think for people that can't read, maybe like Dean Hill, or not throwing them under the bus or anything, but it would be in bigger print. But this was a thick but small type of rule book. Nonetheless, Smooth comes out and is just saying, hey, look, titles can change hands. Chapter 12 says it can change hands via DQ. Well, guess what? Chapter 13 is the one about gauntlets. I have the rule book right here in front of me, and that's actually where it is. Chapter 12 is one-on-one matches, and Chapter 13 is gauntlet matches. So, hey, you have to make sure you know what you're talking about, Smooth. DL3 and Thunder Kitty are getting set for their date, and this goes on throughout the whole show, so we'll just wrap it up here real quick. DL3 is excited, looking for her. He's a big tipper guy, so if you see DL3 out, make sure you take care of him well, because he might give you a wooden nickel or so. I really don't know what's up with DL3. Once Thunder Kitty does get there, they have a few drinks, a little small talk happens, and then Thunder Kitty pretty much just wants to bail, get away from DL3. She's got to go feed the cow, milk the chickens, anything that she could think of. Yeah, I said it wrong, but I did it on purpose. Anything that she can do to get out of there, she does. Finally, she does scoot over to another table after DL3 leaves and sits down with Shiloh Jones, and Shiloh wants to know if Kitty's on the menu. Unbelievable what Shiloh will do, even to his friends. We'll have to have a word with him. The TV Gauntlet, a surprise in the TV Gauntlet, and it is pretty amazing within itself. Ashton Cove starts off against Big Zoe, and Big Zoe is just a beast. He just bowls him over. He actually had to fight two people because Lutz was always in the match as well, so Zoe gets the win. Drew Hernandez comes out next, and Drew's dastardly. He's getting the ref in the way. Zoe does go to the top rope and gets powerbombed off the top rope because the ref was pushed once again, so Drew gets the win. Next out to take on Drew is Chase Destiny. Chase tries. He tries starting fast, but once again, the powerbomb from Drew, it was kind of like a pop-up powerbomb that Kevin Owens used to do, caught Chase. So he was done. Out comes Boy Wonder, Sam Thompson, and Sam is all over. He's excited to be back in the ring again. As we all know, he's bouncing off all over the ropes, and then boom, heads to the top rope, and then just gets thrown down. As Sam's jumping off the top rope, just gets thrown down powerbomb style, and Drew gets the win. But here is the news of OVW. Randall Floyd makes his return, and can I tell you what a sweet blonde mustache he has. This thing looks like Thunder Lips from the Rocky movies. It is just so clean and looks great. We've seen Randall Floyd. He's been on Raw, so it's not like he's been off. He's just been busy outside of OVW, but he comes back to OVW in the real deal. Few hard strikes to Drew, gets him down on the mat, figure four, and we have a new TV champion, and it is Randall Floyd. Smooth, again, looking for Dean Hill, but Megan Bain comes out of Hill's office and says, hey, I at least have a championship shot at the next SNS. So it sounds like Megan Bain's going to be taking on Kali at SNS coming up. So that's pretty big. Megan, a young upstart. Smooth actually bullies his way, I said it, bullies his way into Dean's office, has some words with him, and I don't know. If you watch some of the footage that ended up on Facebook, after he leaves the office of Dean Hill, he kicks a cameraman. Last time anybody was touched that was not a worker, talent, wrestler, somebody got suspended for 2 weeks. So I'm just saying, Justin Smooth should be out tonight, the SNS, and next week. So that would be okay with me. Megan Bain does have a match, though, and she's going to take on Jessie Bell. Jessie Bell, you've seen her at Women of Wrestling, WOW. So Bain, it's a tough competition heading into SNS. And Bain does use her strength, and she is quick. So she uses both of those to get through Jessie Bell. Then we have the announcement that Impact is going to be at the Combine. I kind of hinted that earlier, that since they're working together, they will probably end up being that way. But it's an official announcement that the Impact Professional Wrestling group will be there. So hopefully we get one or two of them on Can Crushers as well. And then we have the main event. The main event of the evening was Cash Flow against Dustin Jackson. And whoever wins this match is the number one contender and will take on Michael Hayes. Folks, nobody wins this match. Justin Smooth comes out and bullies everybody around. But before that, it was a great match. It really was. Both of them back and forth. This is one of the ones where you're just on the edge of your seat thinking, wow, young upstart Dustin Jackson. He was part of the Bro Gods. He's multiple-time tag team champion, TV champion. He could be it of the future. He's just something. But then you have Cash Flow that he just cuts you with his hands, because his hands are like Andre the Giant's, which congratulations to Andre the Giant, legit badass tournament winner. We didn't get to talk about that, but Cash Flow just hands of a giant and slices right through you. But as I said, Smooth comes out and just gets in the way. Then Michael Hayes comes out, and it is now set up at SNS. It'll be Justin Smooth against Michael Hayes for the OVW Heavyweight Championship in a no disqualifications. But that masked superstar comes out again and hits Smooth with a change maker cutter. So who could be involved? We don't know. Guys, coming up is going to be our OVW report. This is the OVW report. You can tell I'm a little bit excited about going to see OVW. But coming right up after our favorite sponsor, the Collar and Elbow, it will be our AEW report, and we'll welcome back to the show, Chad Piranha. So sit back and relax, and then we'll be back to touch on Raw and SmackDown.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers. Guys, as we talked a little bit earlier, Double or Nothing was this weekend, and we really didn't send them because we don't have that money yet, but we knew that this guy would cover Double or Nothing more than anybody else. Welcome back to the show, Chad Piranha. Chad, how come you didn't come down to Kentucky like you said you were going to meet me here?
Well, you didn't give me your address quick enough. I just think you didn't want me there, and you only gave me 10 minutes to drive there.
Well,
what can I say?
You do have a shuttle or a Hummer or, something really fast. I mean, we've been in contact for a while, and you knew, I don't know, since like April that I was coming down here this week, and then you're meeting at my house to talk about Double or Nothing tonight. How's my dog doing?
Pretty good. I'll just say it, okay? I hit the ripe old age of 47 yesterday, and evidently lost my mind and memory and everything else overnight. So that's my excuse for going to your house.
Good. All right, let's get into Double or Nothing. Overall, what I saw, the bits and pieces, everything, put together, I loved it, but I'll let you do your shtick.
All right. We'll just kind of a little glance over the card a little bit and then hit the main matches. The program started out with a battle royal. Really liked the setup that they had. They had them come in groups of 5 every 5 minutes, and they based it. They called them, hearts and spades and clubs and diamonds. It just kind of gave it a different feel than your normal battle royal or Royal Rumble or something like that. Big stars.
They had one wild card or joker, as you we'll get into that, but there was 4 suits and then a joker one, which blew the roof off the place, huh?
Yes. Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, the fans were into the card the entire night. From the battle royal, which was actually on the pre-show, through, every match on the card, the fans were engaged in it. There was no, this is boring or chanting other wrestlers' names or stuff like that. But it was an excellent battle royal. They had guys, familiar names, Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela, Sean Spears, Brian Pillman Jr. They had a couple of older guys, and Billy Gunn and Glacier. Jungle Boy, which wanted to give a shout out. He is like a smaller version of our IWC Andrew Palace on drugs. I mean, the dude is everywhere. He just an excellent little wrestler. And Jungle Boy just happens to be the late, great Luke Perry's son.
Right, you brought up Joey Janela. Joey Janela has actually been in IWC as well. Those are the clips that during the Battle Royal I want to talk about that he took a hell of a beating. Like, if there's any spot that needed to be done, Joey Janela did it.
Oh, most undoubtedly. He seemed to be kind of the workhorse one to kind of put everybody over and make them look good. And I wanted to bring up the one spot that I think was one of the nastiest, but one of the most well-done spots the entire night was when he got eliminated by this guy called Luchasaurus, who is freaking huge, whoever the dude is. He got choke slammed over the top rope and through a table at ringside. And when I'm talking choke slammed over the top rope, it wasn't like he daintily pushed him over the top rope and he fell through the table. No, he launched him over the top rope in a choke slam and through the table. It looked like Janela broke his neck. That's how it came off.
I was just going to say, he folded up like a taco shell. When he hit that table, he instantly just folded right around. He did look like he was dead. He really did.
And they didn't show much of it right after that, and it kind of, you were wondering if he really did get hurt, and the camera angles kind of took it, I want to say, off of that area, and it's like, holy crap, he really did get hurt. But thankfully, he put out on Twitter the next day, other than being sore and having a stiff shoulder and neck, that he did not sustain any great injury.
Yeah, and then To top it all off, we'll jump into the wild card. The wild card person comes out, and Chad, who's the wild card?
Hangman Adam Page. Ring of Honor. He's just one of these solid wrestlers. He's not huge. He's not, a tiny guy, but he is just so incredible in the ring when he's let. I mean, he can throw a scientific match at you, or if you want to freaking brawl, he'll do a brawl. He's just one of these up and comers, and I knew him from years ago when I seen the Ring of Honor 10th anniversary show. The kid had something at that time, and now he's just developed to where he's, I'd say probably one of the top 20 in the sport overall, in my opinion.
I would have to agree. And the winner of this Battle Royal, whatever they were calling it, because my notes are back in Pennsylvania, got a future title shot. That is correct, right?
Yes, it was announced that the winner of the Battle Royal would face the winner of Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, and that would determine the first AEW World Heavyweight Champion, which come later in our broadcast here, there was a big surprise with that.
Yeah.
With the championship belt in that.
By the way, we can do spoiler. We don't have to stay with it. That belt was amazing. I'll let you announce who brought it out if you've yet to see it. I don't know how. You must be living under a rock if you've not seen who brought out the AEW Championship belt. But that is a championship belt that people are going to want. It doesn't spin. It doesn't shine with like glitters and sparkles on it. It's a flippin' championship belt.
For the old time wrestling fans, title that it reminded me of, but upgraded a little bit, was the old North American title from Mid-South.
Oh my God, wrestling. Good call.
It has more panels from what I've been able to see clearly on it. It has some more panels, and it's a bit bigger than the old North American title, but it looks so much like that title. It was like instantly when this person pulled it out of the bag for the brief few seconds that you could see it because of something else going on. Just a gorgeous title. It's a throwback to the older titles before, we got to have diamonds and rubies and 15 different colored panels and, like you said, spinning and stuff that should be reserved for kids' titles, like 5-year-olds' titles, but that's just me.
No, I agree. All right, along with the card, we had one more match on the pre-show, correct?
Yes, it was Sammy, and I'll butcher the name, Guevara against Kip Sabian.
Good job. Guevara, I've seen a lot from Wrestle Circus. Was a show that you could watch on Twitch, a show that you could watch on the internet. And Wrestle Circus is not defunct. They just need a new home. But Guevara is amazing. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. The match itself, I mean, they went back and forth. They started an old school match as much as you can, where they did a bit of feeling out, and it seemed kind of slow. But then about midway through the match, they just kicked it in gear. And I'll say this here for the first time, and then probably many times in the other matches, none of these matches became a spot fest. None of these, they told a story, things flowed together, stuff didn't come out of nowhere, and it is, God rest his soul, this is the way, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, when he was a booker, whether he pissed people off or they loved him, the matches always told a story. They always were, developing and gelling in that. And I just got to say, right off the bat, you've seen in this pre-show match that's what they were going to do with the card.
Folks, I don't know if you've noticed, but that's one of the big things as Can Crushers. We want a story. If we're walking into an independent show, if we're walking into something that we've never seen before, it just doesn't matter. If you tell us a story for that 3 minutes that both of you are coming into the ring, tag teams or singles or whatever, that's all we care about. We don't need to know your past. Tell me a story about tonight. And for most of us, this was the first time we've seen a lot of these AEW stars. And as Chad said, they told a story. And now he's a fan.
Huge fan. It's no secret. Those who know me know that I like wrestling, that I'm not very fond of the Connecticut product as it is. I have a few favorite wrestlers, but my love of them stems from the other federations before they got to where I want to dare say that 9 times out of 10 wrestling doesn't matter. It's how many butts you can put in the seat and how much money can you put in my pocket.
Let me stop you right there before we get to the main card. Can you say that AEW this weekend was wrestling and not entertainment? And you know what I mean by that, right?
Yes, absolutely. There wasn't a match, and it how you like to watch a pay-per-view. To each is his own, but there wasn't a focus on the sizzle, the fireworks. The announcers were not, arguing back and forth and everything and making all the lights and stuff like that. This was, and like you said a few minutes ago, when we were talking offline, this was as good as the Crockett Cup show that we went, minimal with the sizzle and, the oohs and ahs. This was wrestling. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is what people want to see. Storylines, the wrestlers putting a good match together. Okay, granted, this is their first pay-per-view, and there's not a ton of history in, a couple of the matches and stuff like that, but you're not always going to have it. But for the most part, 4 matches on the card. It was developed from when AEW was first, hey, let's do this. They started putting things together.
Yeah.
The card just made sense, I guess, is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, they did. They set up a lot of matches at their press conference and via social media and everything. So there was some storylines going into it. If you're just turning it on though for the oh my God, this AEW thing starting, you might have been lost. Even the old man that you are, and I'm a year, 2 behind you. We at least caught on. We caught on quick. We know what's going on. We are also nerds that are all over social media, though, for the love of God.
Yeah, I could, this getting back into the wrestling and watching it go into the independents and that, it just makes us feel like, back into childhood when the stuff was, we didn't understand it as well then, but when the storylines and you got invested in it, whether it was a Magnum TA Nikita Koloff Russians American thing or, somebody turning on their longtime tag team partner, you got invested in it back then. It was something that you loved watching. My mom and dad, God rest their souls, they watched wrestling up until the day that they died, and both of them absolutely loved it, and they were in their late 70s and 80s when they passed away.
That's true. His mother, we can get into mom stories another time, but all right, let's move along with the card. What do we got first?
Okay, we kind of hinted at something, so I think we'll hit that first. It happened a little bit later in the card, but we'll talk about it now. The unveiling of the AEW Championship, absolutely gorgeous belt. I can't say enough about. Loved it. But you're wondering, who are they going to have unveil it? Are they going to bring in Tony Khan, the investor? And the guy gets up there and announces Bret the Hitman Hart. And the place just went nuts. There wasn't a person that was sitting when they panned through the crowd when he come out. And there was plenty of people that they caught on camera, and you could tell that they were mouthing the words, holy,
F.
what? Holy S at him coming out. And, Bret looks good for his age, for his health, and he just looked happy to be in this environment. And as a side note, it's kind of funny, on Can Crusher's page, there was a poll, do you think there's going to be retaliation against so-and-so and so-and-so for AEW? If you remember not years back, a couple of months back when Chris Jericho officially signed with AEW, the dear McMahons, other than his matches, wiped everything of Jericho off of the WWE channel, off of the network.
Yeah, he's not on websites or anything anymore either. But let me say this: it is duly noted that spot was supposed to go to the Nature Boy Ric Flair. With his injuries and his surgery and everything, he decided to pull himself. So, okay, who do you go to? Let me ask you this, Chad. Do you think? There was a couple other surprises. One the internet had a buzz about and was correct for months now. Another one was a shock. But do you think this was the biggest, I don't want to say asset, because who knows how long Bret's going to be around, but do you think this was the biggest shock of the night, that it was Bret Hart that less than a month ago was inducting his friend Jim the Anvil Neidhart into the WWE Hall of Fame? He is now on their competition.
I think, honestly, it was because, like you said, and we'll talk about it, a little bit later, the other surprises and stuff like that. The other surprises I could see that happening, was kind of, your attitude and everything. But this one, they didn't say anything about replacing Ric Flair or anything like that. And although Flair would have been great for this, I think Bret doing it actually was better than if Flair would have done it, because this started off, or I want to say started the road to all the surprises coming up.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that I think, Nate's doing it would have been great, but having Bret do it is like, holy shit, plus more.
It's with the history that he has with WWE and, the Montreal screw job and all that stuff, and then getting back in Daddy Vince's good graces and everything and stuff like that. I was honestly floored. I was like, no way in hell. And I didn't believe it was him until he actually stepped out on stage. But it was definitely, to me, it was the shock of the night, non-wrestler, active wrestler related for sure.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Like I said, folks, I was watching it via clips. Chad was the good boy of the group and ponied up. He asked me if I wanted to go over, and I said, sure. Again, I'm in Kentucky though, Chad. But the next one we're going to split. We're going to watch it together. We're going to have some beers and some friends over. Either one of the houses. I'm making sure that, damn it, I sit down in my recliner and watch that.
Yeah, the next one's definitely shaping up to be good.
But let's stick with this one. All right, on with more matches.
Okay. First thing, right before the announce, for those who might not have known, Jim Ross made his return to announcing, and he's going to be working with AEW on a very steady basis. JR is simply the best that there's ever been in the business. in my opinion. And this is his first real gig job since his beloved wife passed away about 2 years ago, was taken very suddenly in a tragic accident. It was really good to see him out there.
Yeah, and in the English professor's shtick, as it is already set to be up, he kind of talks the same thing about JR and how he is, damn it, the best in the business.
Yep. Okay, matches. Real quick, there's a couple of them. You had SCU against the Stronghearts, SCU being Christopher Daniels, Sky and Kazarian against SEMA, T-Hawk, and El Lynchadon. Excellent match. I mean, if you're a big fan of wrestling, you knew who, or at least heard of a lot of these guys. It was an excellent back-and-forth match, very well-paced. For a six-man tag, I can't remember seeing a better one since the mid-'80s, because it just well-paced, well put together. Again, told a little bit of a story, and it wasn't a spot fest.
Yeah, ROH is trying to bring back this the whole six-man. They have the championship and everything, but it just never felt real. You know, not that anything feels real, but you know where I'm going with this. But this was a great match. Little side note, Christopher Daniels will be at IWC Super Indy on June 16th in Pittsburgh. So, folks, if you don't have your tickets, you damn well better get them, because that's going to be a hell of a match. He's not in the tournament, but nonetheless, make sure you come to IWC Super Indy. Okay, back to AEW.
And you know what's a theme with this and these wrestlers and stuff like this that's great with AEW is, other than a certain promotion overseas, New Japan, I'll just say it, Mark can edit it out if he needs to.
I don't.
There's wrestlers from everywhere, all kinds of abilities and stuff. They're not focusing on just, big guys or anything like that. There's just people from everywhere. And the last organization to really do that and make a success of it was NWA. Back in the day with Dusty Rhodes and Flair. I got to give all the credit what they're already putting together, Cody and Brandy and Young Bucks and Omega and everything like that. They're doing it the way that it's supposed to be, the way that people want to see.
I was just going to ask you that, and I know the answer because we had a 12-hour ride to Concord, North Carolina. But do you think that Cody and Brandy and Kenny and the Young Bucks are going to run AEW like a territory? They're going to, this guy that is now a surprise. If you haven't seen who it is, you're living under a rock. But they're going to let this guy go over to New Japan before their next show. And do you think they're just going to let them go and on their own, and then when they need them, they bring them back in and say, "Okay, Kenny, it's your turn to fight this guy again. We really just need to say this guy's name so we can talk about it a little bit, but I'm waiting until you reveal it." I think they're going to be running it like a territory and not do live house shows and everything. They're just going to do their weekly show and then their, air quotes, pay-per-views when they want to have them.
I think that's really where they're going to, and until maybe I could see them maybe changing it a little bit if they get bigger talent and they get how can I put it? They get out there and people see what the product is. They got a hell of a talent base already, but attracting other names and things like that, I think they're going to do it, like you said, run it like a territory to a degree. But what I see them doing is they'll have these guys coming in and stuff like that. They'll tape them for matches. They're gonna, again, I hate to keep using the phrase, telling a story. It's not just going to be, oh, we're bringing in so-and-so from New Japan Wrestling, and he's wrestling, whoever the world champion is for the title, because people aren't going to, oh, that's going to be a great match. You're going to put a hell of a match on. But if the guy's not going to be there, then you're going to have the Brock Lesnar,
right,
situation of where, okay, there's a title. Okay, he comes on pay-per-views and he walks out to the ring once a month. That's why the fans are irritated with WWE the way they are, is because of that. They want people that are going to be there and going to be there for a while. So I think they'll develop the storylines through TV tapings, through the pay-per-views, maybe some house shows or some combined shows with other places. I think that's how they're going to develop it at first.
Yeah, and I think that's a good path to go down. All right, on to more matches. We have a lot of sidetracks, by the way.
Yes, it's very easy with this because there's so much history with everybody. The people, hey, I've seen them here and here. And it's a testament to them, again, that they brought this together.
Well, for sure.
And pulled it off what they did. I mean, you could bring in, 50 of the top names in wrestling and still have crappy matches, no storylines, if that wasn't the case with this.
That's called Raw and Smackdown.
Yeah, exactly. The wild card rule. Anyway, the female match was originally supposed to be Britt Baker.
Wait. It's Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Get it correct.
It's that old age. I forget about things again. Dr. Britt Baker, Kylie Ray, and Nyla Rose. Well, they all come down to the ring, and then Brandy Rhodes comes out. And she takes her jacket off, and she's in her gear. And my initial thought was, oh, great. Not that she's not a great athlete, not that she's not beautiful, but just, I was like, no, don't do this. Don't do the, I'm going to put myself into this match because I'm an owner thing. And she says, I told you guys that this triple threat match was going to be great, but I don't want a great match. I want an awesome match. And the music hits. And somebody that you haven't seen for years comes on, Awesome Kong.
I lost my shit.
From TNA fame, I won't even say the WWE crap, but from the TNA fame, and again, another pop, the crowd went nuts. And it's been years since she's been
relevant,
other than a passing tweet or anything like that, so it just shows, like, holy cow. The match itself, in my opinion, and I absolutely love Becky Lynch, I think this match was better than the WrestleMania main event.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
enough said. Yes.
It didn't. Again, no spot fest. Things rolled. Their moves were crisp.
No dead time.
It just looked so good, and I was like, I honestly thought, and this is because of our brains being programmed to what is readily available on Monday and Tuesday nights. I'm like, okay, is this going to be what makes or breaks AEW in the women's division? I think of all the matches on there, this one could have made or broke, the division. And it was a great match. Just from beginning to end, you weren't quite sure who was going to win because everybody got in offense and it just gelled together, and then Dr. Baker won it.
Yeah, you never saw anybody just laying around, just looking for, they sold their punishment. They sold every move during this. And to piggyback the question that you said about the make or break of the women, don't forget they have Allie. They've just signed a couple more women recently. Penelope
There was
Ford.
one today they just sold or just
Signed. Yeah.
And I can't think on who. I can't think off. I didn't even think to write it down because I was going through and looking for other things. Another very strong independent that actually, I just remember WWE had made her an offer and she declined it.
Right.
Which seems to be a lot nowadays, but.
Oh yeah, you're going to see a lot of declining of everything. If I look it up, it's fine. Nonetheless, everybody who knows, listening to the Can Crushers, but this is a make or break, and I think it made it. It was awesome. So moving along.
Okay, next match was Best Friends. Chuck Taylor and Trent beat Angelico and Jack Evans. Another really well put together match. If you didn't know who they were, you could just watch it and really appreciate how athletic it was, how it flowed. Very, high flying sequences were so well put together. It just didn't look like a botch fest. Everything looked good. The only thing that I have negative to say about this match, and it's not the wrestlers themselves, but it took away from the match a little bit. The announcing was horrible in this match. It reminded me of Monday night or Tuesday night's announcing and how it takes away from the match a little bit.
Okay.
If I was, I'd give it a 4-star, a 5-star match-wise, and the only reason being written down is the announcing just interfered. It's like I actually turned the volume off. I muted it because it irritated me within 2 minutes into the match.
Now, this is actually one of the matches that I saw minimal clips on. I really did. So even during the clips, I didn't hear anything of the announcing because it was just, I don't want to say it was a spot fest clip-wise, but it was a spot fest clip-wise. It showed all the big moves, and it didn't show anything. Probably one of the least matches I really cared about for the night, so I wasn't really upset that I didn't get to see all of this one. So moving along.
All right. The next one, and I'll butcher some names here, but Aja Kong, Yuka Sasaki, and Emi versus Sekiro, Hikari Shida, and Rio Abe.
The only one I knew during all of this was Aj Kong. I've seen her before. The rest, it was just being brought over with the whole collaboration with New Japan and everything. So I really didn't know much about these ones as well. But I know Aj put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, it was a really good match for the number of people, and it's always harder when you have more people in a match to have a 4-star, 5-star match. Just because you got so much dynamics going in and you concentrate on, 2 or 3 people, or how do you do it? But it was actually a really good match. The only thing that goofed up, and again, not the wrestler's fault, but towards the end of the match, one of them, and I can't remember which one it was offhand, did a move, and it really looked like it was the end of the match. And the ring bell guy, actually rang the bell, and everybody turned around and looked at him like,
"What the hell are you doing?
What the hell are you doing?" Literally, the ref turned around and looked at him and was like, "Oh, okay." And then they went for a little bit, had the finishing, and they got it right. That was the only thing that was odd about that match.
Okay. We're getting into the big matches, though, now. Here comes the big matches.
Okay, the first big match, Dustin Rhodes and Cody Rhodes. Starts out, Cody comes out, and he walks down to the ring. Him and Brandy walk down to the ring, and he reaches in under the ring and he gets a sledgehammer. And he turns around, and there is the King of Kings throne back up the stage. Cody goes back up the stage and destroys it with a sledgehammer. And if you should know kind of where that was going, if you watch wrestling, it was a direct slam against Triple H and the WWE.
Oh, sure as shit it was.
We're destroying your kingdom, and we're starting it now.
That, there was no hints of it either. It wasn't just, there was a throne happened to be there, that there just happened to be a sledgehammer laying about. It was Triple H's legit logo on that throne. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I know it's a cross, folks. I know it's a cross. And all crosses can be, does this look? No, it was Triple H's freaking logo on that one.
Yeah, if you remember a couple of WrestleManias ago, he come out with a crown and the skeleton face, and this cross was his big thing on his throne, on his scepter, on his mask and everything. Yeah, it was, I want to say laughing, but they said, they're not holding anything back. And Cody went right after. And what a fitting person to do it, to go right after him, because, Triple H has had nothing but negative stuff to say when he will answer anything about AEW or Cody Rhodes. He's called him a has-been, a never will be.
Pissant company.
Yeah, and, so it was, but that was a great way to start the match. And then Dustin comes out, half of his face painted, he looked to be in good shape, and, for his age and having not wrestled a lot. And to me, this was my favorite match of the night. This was the best match of the night, in my opinion, because it told the whole story of brother versus brother, generation versus generation, and it was an old school match. There wasn't the gimmicks, there wasn't the run and interference, except for a little bit minorly at the end. It was just a hell of a match. It made the pay-per-view right then and there. If I didn't see anything else on the pay-per-view, I would have been happy paying what I did after that match.
Yeah, Chad, this match got you emotionally involved. From the get, you were just like, oh man, it's either you were all with Dustin or you were all with the new young buck, Cody, and just wanting to be part of the history. And it just, again, we're beating the dead horse with it told a story. But before they got going, they both kind of like tapped their heart, pointed up to the heavens, and they went to the respected corners. And the crowd went nuts for chanting Dusty, Dusty, Dusty. That's where I got teared up. And after the match, more happened after the match. I'll let Chad tell you about that. But you're right. If I didn't see anything else, this would make me come back to AEW over and over and over again. Side note is, I think Dustin bladed a little too much as he lost a lot of blood.
Yeah, he took a good kick and cut himself over his left eye a little bit too deep.
Like his old man.
He bled. We thought that Nick Aldis at the Crockett Cup bled a lot. No, Dustin, you could see it pouring out of the wound. dropping all over the match, and they didn't call the match. This was another thing. He kept going and going. I mean, there had to have been, I think, at least a good 15, maybe 20 minutes almost after he bladed before the match ended.
All up. I thought they'd at least, and they were poking fun at it a little bit as well, so this is, I think, they didn't want to. I thought at least he would somehow roll to the outside, end up under the ring, that he'd get toweled off a little bit, but I don't know if that would have helped. That ring took so much blood that it literally looked like somebody was shot in the ring.
Yeah, it definitely did. Looks like somebody was plugged with a shotgun a couple of times, and it was all over. Cody ended up winning the match. Like I said, they didn't pull any punches or anything like that after he was cut. It was a brutal match, and it's like, holy crap, these two are, really brothers, and they're beating the hell out of each other. And then you just think this is the way, the Dream would have wanted it. If he was booking the match, this is the exact way he would have booked the match.
For sure. And Cody gets the win after a ton of crossroads and a ton of everything. But what does he do after the match?
So Cody gets Dustin's kind of slumping in the corner. And the thing was with the match was it's going to be Dustin's last ride, one more ride. So Cody gets a microphone, and he looks at Dustin standing about 10 feet away from him, and he says, "You don't get to retire here. I'm not giving you that." And he said, when AEW was being formed, I signed my name to a contract at a future event, and he said the town. And he said, "You know who I'm facing? It's a tag team match against the Young Bucks." And the crowd pops because they kind of were thinking, okay, maybe what's he doing here? Is he going to ask him to be his partner? And Cody looks and he says, "I don't need a partner. I don't need a friend." And his voice cracks, and I'm getting choked up saying this.
Yeah, right.
He said, "I need my big brother."
That's awesome.
They hugged, and I'll tell you, that was I had tears coming out of my eyes, and this comes, those who remember back, those that are nerds, years ago in the last years of WCW, Dustin had gotten a partner, Arn Anderson, to go against Colonel Parker's Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck. Well, Arn turned on him. Well, Dusty ended up coming down. This was weeks later to get revenge because they broke Dustin's arm, actually legitimately broke his arm in the match, or in the attack afterwards. And Dusty said, he said, the Earps are blood, the Kennedys are blood, the Rhodes are blood. And he said, "I want you," he said, "if you can carry my fat old A down to the ring."
You can say ass.
"You want to carry my fat old ass down to the ring. I want to be your partner." And Dustin looked conflicted. He played it so well. And you can find this clip on YouTube. It's great. And he said, "I don't need a handshake. I don't need anything. I just need a hug and a kiss from my son."
Yeah.
So it was a replay of that angle, a redo of it, but it was just so fitting. It's not something that's been overdone or that you could really overdo. I'm sure, though, if Vince McMahon tried, he could screw anything up. But it just, the end of that with Dustin and Cody, and then Cody helping him back because Dustin was legitimately, he was starting to suck wind at that point. He looked in pretty bad condition, and helped him back to the ring.
Yeah, he lost 100 pints of blood by then.
Yeah, I think he said on Twitter, I wish I would have copied it, how much he lost, and he had to go a transfusion that night in the hospital, and the stitches and staples and everything like that. But just a hell of a match. Like I said, to me, I would have been happy if the card ended at that point, but thankfully it didn't, and we still had, 2 other humongous matches come out.
This next one, the tag team match, Chad, this is where I don't want to say it wasn't a spot fest. I don't want to say it was a spot fest. But if there was one that I could pinpoint that leaking a little bit towards the spot fest, it's the Lucha Brothers against the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I've never been an overly huge Young Bucks fan. They showed me a bit more in this match because they had a little bit of the spot fest, both of the teams, but they went so long and it didn't seem to be. It was okay. The match was a great match. It flowed. It wasn't overly done. The false finishes weren't overly done. The 25, super kicks in a row that look like a bunch of 10-year-olds are doing them.
I'll give you that then. Yes, if you're going to say it that way, I completely agree. The moves in the way that they innovate moves or just come up on moves on the spot blew my mind with some of these spike power pile drivers and this, that, and the other. My God.
Yeah, they were pulling just everything out, and as I was looking at the replay a little bit of it, just kind of wanting to catch a little bit that I might have missed going out to get a drink or something like that. A lot of the moves, or not a lot, a good amount of the moves that they were doing were from other teams that they had faced. They were paying homage to a lot of the other teams that they had faced. The Briscoes come to mind with the spike pile driver.
Yeah.
We've seen that. That's one of the Briscoes' big things. The tandem moves outside of their own. They were kicking it back and, saying thank you to the teams that got them to that point. And you'd have to be a wrestling nerd to really have caught that, but if you've seen a lot of the moves and stuff like that and think about a lot that they did, that was pretty cool. That was a good shout back.
Or they're saying we can't wait till you come to AEW because I don't know how many people caught this. When Cody was coming into the arena, he always drinks coffee. He always has coffee with him. He's a coffee connoisseur. His coffee cup did not say Cody. It did not say Nightmare. It did not say Rhodes. It didn't say any of that. His coffee cup said FTR. And if anybody knows what FTR is, it goes hand in hand with the Revival. And he made sure that got on TV.
And I will go on the record now. It's probably not a long shot. Excuse me, to a lot of the people following the wrestling and that. I will guarantee you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, when the Good Brothers contract is up with WWE, you will see them in AEW.
As well, the Revival, and Arn Anderson will be a manager of one of them. Just leaving it at that.
Yep. Foundation. You got to build something. You got to have a strong foundation for it to last. That is exactly what AEW is doing. They're not bringing in the people that are in it for themselves. They're not bringing in, no disrespect to old retired wrestlers or, guys that ran a video shop from their, trunk of their car and, since I can say it, kissed ass to other people that had money. They're bringing in talented people, proven people from all around. There hasn't been one person yet that's not a proven commodity. but without being overdone, without being, overseen, however you want to put it.
Yeah, and that brings us to our main event, and it's a rematch. And it's Kenny Omega against Chris Jericho, and damn, does this just tear the house down during the match and then after the match.
Yeah, it started out, these guys, they're old school wrestlers. Obviously, Jericho's been around the business for a long time, but Jericho just, the talent level with that guy, and you can get so irritated with him and years back and stuff like that. He knows what to do. He just knows how to play the crowd. He knows the things to say to piss people off or to get them to cheer him. And Kenny Omega, he's just a beast as far as a wrestler. I hate to use that because of Brock Lesnar, because I hate his guts, but Kenny Omega just literally, he's somebody that could wrestle a broom and have a good match, make a good match out of it.
He has wrestled some inanimate objects before and made good matches, but we'll let YouTube cover that.
Yeah, Kenny Omega in years past had a match with a blow-up doll and a 9-year-old.
That one I don't agree with.
Yeah, it was bad, and it hurt him business-wise, and there's a lot of the older guys, that just said you just should have said no. I don't agree with it. I probably would have walked away, but at the same token, he did what he thought he had to do to keep his job going, and he can apologize for it and make up for it. And I think he's getting away from the stigma of those two. His work in New Japan was just off the charts. He could wrestle anybody over there, and that's, in fact, where he had his first match with Jericho, and they just beat the hell out of each other. If that match there was a 5-star match, this match that they had at Double or Nothing was an 8-star match. From beginning to end, again, the old cliche, it told a story. They beat the hell out of each other. With wrestling, very limited props and stuff like that. They just very intense physical match. And, Jericho, he's getting up there in the years. He's older than me, and he still put on a hell of a match.
He really did. He really did. And you're seeing more of Jericho, not that he didn't wrestle, but you're seeing more Jericho wrestle now. He doesn't need to do the lion salts. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to have the list or anything stupid like that. He wrestles, and it's better for him.
It is. He's allowed to show what he can do, what his, I don't want to say character, but what he's able to do outside of the big flashy moves. He just come up with he beat Omega with a new move that he calls where the hell is it now?
Good job, Chad. One thing to do. One thing to do.
One thing. Oh, I can't find the damn thing, but Judas effect. There it is. Sorry, people, I'm late.
He's old.
With a new
He's old.
Judas, which was basically, it was kind of like a spinning elbow more than a forearm, and it looks bad. It looks like he's going to throw a discus punch, and then he just hammers him with his elbow. Reminds me of years and years ago, Tito Santana and his flying elbow. That's what Jericho did, but from a standing position, and it looked wicked. And he come out of nowhere with that, little over the 20-minute mark, and that's how he beat Omega.
And then all hell breaks loose as we have I still don't say the biggest surprise, but a confirmation that there's somebody coming to AEW.
Absolutely. We talked earlier about the biggest non-wrestling surprise. Jericho's in the ring and he's playing the heel up so well, and he was like, "You people, should be thankful for me, and AEW isn't for you, it's for me because I deserve it." And basically, we should be groveling at the ground that his feet step on and everything. And all of a sudden, you hear the crowd start to erupt, and the camera hits. And here comes Jon Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose. And the crowd just goes nuts. JR is like, what the hell? Cuts himself off. Cuts himself off. He was like, what the hell is he doing here? And Moxley comes down through the fans up into the ring, and he's standing there, and Jericho turns around, and the look on Jericho's face was, and he actually said it, what the hell are you doing here? You don't work here. Now, obviously, that's the way they had it written, but it goes to show the professionalism of Jericho. You wouldn't have known that he didn't, know that Moxley was coming out. And then, of course, Moxley, plays to the crowd. They're chanting his name. When I'm saying chanting his name, there's not 20 or 30. There's 11,000 people chanting his name.
Yeah,
He whoops up. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was going to say this was huge. This is where, there was spots all night that the roof came off, and I don't know how they put the roof back on, but this literally just ripped Vegas down. Like, everybody, if you're a nerd and you follow as much as I do and this, that, and the other thing, you had a feeling this is where Ambrose or Moxley or whoever you're going to call him right now, please call him Moxley, that he's going to show up. You kind of had a feeling. But I didn't think at this point in the card. I thought maybe earlier in the Battle Royal or, getting into something with somebody else, but not right off the get with Omega and Jericho.
Yeah, you didn't expect it. You honestly thought that it was over at this point. The pay-per-view was about 3 hours and 45 minutes, if I'm remembering my time right.
Yeah.
You did not expect to see it anything more. You figured Jericho was going to talk smack. Maybe somebody from the back would come out. Maybe Cody would come out, or Hangman Page or something like that. And then Moxley comes out, and the place just lost it. Like you said, it blew the roof off. I can't remember the last reaction that I've seen like this. I hate to compare, but when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, that is the closest that I can ever remember being to this type of reaction. And in that one, everybody was pissed off. In this one, they're just going nuts. They're like, what's going to go on? What's going to go on? And he beat Jericho up. He DDT'd him. Then evidently he felt that the referee needed a DDT, and he gave him one. And the classic line from the pay-per-view delivered by Jim Ross at the time when Moxley's kicking the referee out of the ring was, he looks like he's as fulfilled as he's ever been in his career.
There was a tweet today that said, nobody does a tweet as good as me. A tweet. Jeez, Mark. Nobody does a DDT as good as me. So it's by Jake the Snake. He's like, but Moxley's DDT looks a hell of a lot better than Ambrose's.
Yep. He had the arm hooked and high a little bit more. It just wasn't. It flowed, but it the professionalism of them. It's the veteran of them. It's not being fed this crap from people in the back, you know, who the biggest thing that they wrestle with is what shirt or tie to wear to the next meeting.
Right.
And sorry, people, you can tell that I hate WWE. I swear if I'd ever win a couple of $100 billion or come into it or something, first thing I'd do is buy WWE and fire almost everybody.
Nice. And then he's got a pretty nice writing and commentary team in his back pocket, hopefully.
Yes. If it's being written by, you know, or helped or put in by guys like Jim Ross, who's been around the business for years through when the business was at its best, Cody, Dustin, they have the input, the production. That's why I say they're pulling Arn Anderson in. That's why Arn Anderson left the WWE, because he got sick and tired of crap being changed 5 minutes before they went on the show, and then when something happens, he gets blamed for it.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening with them, because they're forming this to be exactly opposite of that.
Same thing with Malenko, too. I'll just get on his coattails.
And, you know, another wrestler that, you know, has been around the business, knows, you know, was good in the ring, very underutilized in the ring. They're putting the right people in place now. I would personally love to see him. I'll plug him a little bit. I would love to see Jim Cornette get involved in something like this, because I think him and JR could really play off of each other and really make a real great product like they did before WWE got ruined so much. So Moxley comes in, he kicks the referee out. He looks like he's going to give Omega a DDT. Omega tackles him out of the ring. They start brawling. And you could hear the punches when they initially started throwing them. You could hear them hitting on the live audio on the pay-per-view. They weren't pulling the punches. There wasn't no slow motion stuff. They were beating the hell out of each other. So they battle through the crowd, and, you know, one gets a hit, the other gets a hit. They get up to the poker chip props or whatever, and Dean climbs up there, and Omega climbs up after him, and Dean kicks him and just plants him with the DDT. It looked like he stuck his head in the ground like a lawn dart, or into the chip, like a lawn dart. He picks him up, knees him in Omega's already broken nose, and then throws him off into a lighting table, and then poses to end the pay-per-view.
So he's in the heavyweight title picture right off the get. The next pay-per-view will have Jericho against Hangman Page in for the first ever. Real quick, as we're going to go, this show is going to be about 2 hours if we keep going, Chad. Real quick, your pick for the first ever AEW champion. And we'll cover this more, but just real quick right now.
First notion, Page. Hangman Page.
All right. Well, we will touch more on that later. Chad, thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you real soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to hopefully working with you in the future.
Who invited you?
All right. Well, Chad, just inviting himself back. But Callie said it right. Who invited you? I don't know, Chad. You might be back. You might not. You keep keeping these long interviews of hours. No. Chad will always be back. He does great with some independent stuff for us. He's going to cover some ROH. So we're gonna blow this up. We're gonna be all over the place. But let's talk about Raw or SmackDown. As guys, not a good answer from WWE following Double or Nothing. Everybody I've talked to in Little Can Crusher Nation has said not a good answer you'd want to follow up with something big. And when I caught Raw, I saw Woods was getting the hell beat out of him by Ziggler. So, setting up the whole Ziggler versus Kofi thing at Super Showdown Down Under 3.0 or whatever you're going to call this next pay-per-view. The names are getting long as the pay-per-views are, and they're just not good. As Paul said earlier, I'm okay with it being Ziggler, but it has to be Ziggler for the same reasons that Chad and I talked about, that Sammy's not going, KO doesn't want to go, Daniel Bryan doesn't go. They don't want to go to Saudi Arabia because they don't. They're not on the same page. They don't want to support what WWE is doing. It's a cash grab is all it is for WWE when they go over to Saudi Arabia. They're getting hundreds of millions of dollars thrown at them. That's why The Undertaker is coming back. That's why Goldberg's coming back one more time. I'd have a match for, 8-9 figures as well over in Saudi Arabia, and that's the only match I'm going to have all this year. But I digress to get back onto Raw and SmackDown, because that is something we can cover next week, because the pay-per-view is next Friday, and we'll be back in Can Crush or studio, if you want to call it, at least my house. So the Ziggler Kofi Owens thing, Kofi Owens, you know how it is. It's just one of those days. Then Shane and Drew come out and they're talking how they're going to beat up Roman and his family. And Lance, Lance he's actually been in some wrestling matches around our area in Pennsylvania, big time wrestling. So Lance is on to be the dynasty, as Shane says, and he gets a snot beat out of him. At the end of everything, Roman comes out and helps him. Brock, what more can we say? He doesn't know that the Money in the Bank lasts a year. So, guys, it was just garbage again. It really was. That's why I'm really going over it. Mela and Truth are still running with this 24/7 title, which I don't think is great whatsoever. It was announced that AJ Styles was hurt at Money in the Bank and that he will not be competing anytime soon. Well, Corbin comes in and just slaps the taste out of his mouth, knocking him out. I bet you this does get set up for a match at Super Showdown as well. Becky and Nikki take on the Iconics, and Becky gets the pin. Lacey does walk out and walk back and forth again, so if she's going to do that whole shtick once again, I just don't know. They had a stupid block party that ran the whole time of the show, and what I pulled out of the block party is that the Usos can play beanbag about 3 feet away and get them right in. Now, beanbag needs to be, don't quote me on the exact directions or length or anything, but it needs to be about 12 to 15 feet apart, and you have to have some launch to it. You just can't, throw it in the hole like they were doing. Like, come on. Like, that really makes me mad. Just like when the kids are saying and there was a lot of wrestlers saying on the old Raw, what? God, what is wrong with this? Why is WWE gotten this bad? It is just garbage. It really is. And just to put those couple sentences together, the English professor, thank God he is recorded already, would have slapped me in the face with all those likes that I had. Ricochet and Cesaro did have a match, a lot of cool, spotty type things. Both of them are great. If titles meant anything, they both should have one. They both deserve one. They're both great wrestlers, but they're both being used wrong. This is a slam fest of WWE this week, folks. We've seen something better. We have. In the mainstream, we've seen something better. And I've said it for months now that I look more forward to watching OVW week in and week out. I love everything about it than dealing with the 5, 6, 7 hours of saturated garbage that we're being fed from WWE. Rumor is Ray is going to be back on Raw next week, and he's going to be giving up the U.S. title because he's got some injuries. I don't know if this is just a storyline or not to get Dominic involved. It's just being played out way too long. Bobby Lashley and The Miz and Braun Strowman and Corbin all in a four-way match, and they said it about 16 times. It is an elimination match. It is an elimination match. It is all right. I'm beating a dead horse, but we saw one pinfall, and the ref never counted out Braun and Bob. Never. They didn't count them out. There was no count out. Because the ref was making the 3 count roughly the same time that those guys decided to leave. So there was no count out. So why? Well, one is to protect Braun, because Braun still can't take pinfalls, and Bob shouldn't be taking pinfalls either because they're supposed to be looking tough. But now you have Corbin against Miz in the ring. And God love Miz. God love Miz. Got the wife who loves Miz or Mrs. And it's a great show. You know, season 3 looks like it's going to be back. And we have them all recorded. And Mike is so funny on it. And Mike's mother-in-law is great. But hey, can he go anywhere else? I've loved the Miz since he was awesome. Day one and everything. But he is just now getting sent down to the bottom because he's probably making a ton of money from Miz or Mrs. He really is. But he doesn't get the respect he needs. He should be a champion. He should be a Universal Champion. He should be in the talks of being a Universal Champion. He's got the pedigree. He's been there long. He can carry a conversation with himself compared to a broom or anything else. He can speak on the mic. All of that. Yet people like that are getting shoved aside for Lars Sullivans and Braun Strowmans and Brock Lesnar's and people that just can't show up or wrestle. Yeah, folks, I said it again. This is a slam fest for WWE this week as we saw AEW just tear down the house on Saturday. Another fun house. This is just helping build his confidence. I want Bray to be back. Put him back in the ring as well. Again, I hate the 24/7 championship, so I usually don't make mention of that. And then we get to the bad part. The really bad part, which I'm going to step back. I will step back and I'll let the English professor talk about the Corey Graves thing because that's his shtick. And then you have the main event of Rollins and Sammy and Raw. Raw is nah. So, via clips and reading it from Bleacher Report, I see that SmackDown was no better. You had a Kevin Owens match against Kofi to start the show off, and Kofi gets the win over Kevin Owens, and now that just eliminates him for a little bit, moving Dolph along for the next pay-per-view Super Showdown Down Under, whatever you're going to call it. Segment with Shane and Elias, R-Truth and Mella. They're just telling us what's going on with the 24/7 thing, and apparently it actually changes hands. Daniel and Rowan come out, how they're wasting everybody's time, and they don't really have any competition, and they're the Planet's tag team champions, yada, yada, yada. They hate Oklahoma because it's a fracking state. Well, the heavy machinery finally comes out, and Paul is going nuts. I felt Paul shake his chair because he likes steaks and whites. He loves Otis, and he's working hand in hand with Otis probably this week. So, nonetheless, Daniel and Rowan say, hey, we're not fighting you here, but you can have a match sometime. Mandy and Mella, and this just ends up, Sonya getting involved once again, and Sonya and Mandy just need to break up because this is where it's going, folks. It really is. Sonya needs her push. The English professor and I have actually said this before. She speaks well, she wrestles well, she can tell a story well, so she will probably be put on the back burner for a while. Shane with Elias and Drew again. They're showing videos. And R-Truth actually comes running in. He loses the 24/7 championship to Elias. And then Shane says, hey, for the next little bit of time until after your tag team match, the 24/7 title will not be on the line. And you're going to have a match. It's going to be Elias and Drew against Roman and R-Truth, whose R-Truth has been beaten down. And then all of a sudden, we have the match. Guys, just being able to do stuff. This title was supposed to be made 24/7. Defend it wherever. Defend it. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And this is Elias's first championship. Poor Elias. He gets put in this shtick of where he doesn't belong. Logan, come back to IWC. Logan, go to AEW. Logan, get out of WWE. When your contract is up, you can do so much better. We have Becky taking on Lacey Evans. So now Lacey can do crossover as well. The wild card is just something so anybody can cross over. Anybody can cross over whenever they want, however they want. Why does Lacey Evans get to cross over? She's not a champion. She probably shouldn't even be number one contender right now. Definitely to Bayley, but nonetheless, Bayley and Lacey have a match, and Flair gets involved. Bayley gets the pin. Flair comes back in after a little bit of a scuffle. Flair lays out Lacey, so it looks like the blonde bombshells are done as well. A big announcement, Undertaker is on Raw next week. Hopefully that will bring ratings from a 2.2 to 2.2.5. And then we finally have the main event. It is Roman and Truth against Drew and Elias, and Roman gets the victory. Truth does get his title back, folks. So that's all that matters. Truth is your two-time 24/7 champion.
Bobby the Brain Heenan spent many evenings in the guest seat of Tuesday Night Titans, answering questions from Vince McMahon as well as the studio audience. At times, he also had a few questions of his own. "Sir, is this your wife?" he asked one of the fans. When the gentleman affirmed that the lady to his left was his wife, the Brain asked a follow-up question. "How long have you been married?" The studio audience member proudly proclaimed that he and his wife had been married for 20 years. Heenan's last question was a piece of advice that perhaps was a couple of decades too late. "Do you realize that if you'd have killed her on your wedding night, you'd be free by now?" Perhaps the man was offended. Perhaps the sad irony had sunk into his head. Either way, he sat there without an answer as other members of the audience laughed or groaned. In another more family-friendly instance, Heenan argued with a young fan about his use of the term weasel. "Do I look like a weasel?" the Brain asked the boy. "Do I have a tail? Do I have whiskers like a weasel?" Seated next to him, the man who originated the Tree of Woe by hanging his much smaller opponents upside down on the turnbuckles and kicking them without mercy, the real-life, kind-hearted Big John Studd suppressed an amused grin. Even as a young English professor, I knew there was something different about these segments. These are the entertainment portions of sports entertainment. Bobby Heenan orchestrating the betrayal of Hulk Hogan by Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Bobby Heenan planning King Kong Bundy's and Magnificent Morocco's attack on Hulk Hogan. And Bobby Heenan's ploy to have Studd and Bundy drop the splash on Andre the Giant were all real. These late-night television-style interviews with Heenan stumbling over his words as he tried to weasel his way out of paying the last person who successfully slammed Studd or Bundy was for the purpose of levity. Perhaps this Monday's electric chair with Corey Graves was an attempt to reintroduce more improvisation into pro wrestling. But this segment puzzled and annoyed me for a few reasons. Firstly, I seem to remember the WWE trying something very similar not that long ago with fans, who I believe were plants, asking the performers questions. Despite that, Graves' tease for this segment would lead fans to believe this was a fresh, innovative concept. Secondly, I thought the program was an unusual choice for a company whose micromanagement and writing seemed determined to void their product of anything organic. And finally, the characters didn't fit the material. You're either the straight man or you're the banana. Corey Graves' commentary favors the heels, most of the time. Renee Young is definitely the rah-rah babyface announcer, except when she wants to hear Elias play his guitar. For a company who constantly reminds us that their superstars are actors portraying roles, they haven't done a great job of keeping those roles consistent. While it sounds antiquated, wrestling is still about good guys and bad guys. And this was the problem with this segment. Corey Graves is not Vince McMahon. Graves is funnier, more hip, better dressed, and better looking than McMahon. He's also the heel commentator most of the time. Although Graves isn't Vinnie Mac, the worst part of the electric chair is that Sami Zayn isn't Bobby Heenan. That's unfair. There was only one Bobby Heenan, and there'll never be another. Honorable mention goes out to Jerry the King Lawler. Heenan and Lawler were like hip-hop artists in a rap battle. They could look at your shirt, your shoes, your complexion, and they could run with it, humiliating the recipients of their taunts. But when it was time to turn the joke around, they could make themselves look foolish and unaware. I don't believe the fans were plants for the electric chair. If they were, then they were brilliant actors who did a masterful job stumbling over their words and looking nervous. The highlight of this part of the show was the young girl who asked Sami Zayn if he missed the ginger snaps. When Zayn asked if she meant Becky Lynch, the girl answered, yeah, and raised her toy version of the Raw Women's Championship. The crowd laughed and applauded the Irish Lass Kicker super fan. But Zayn didn't seem to know how to respond. He avoided questions from the fans and instead went for shock value by saying that he was prepared to answer inquiries about his love life or AEW. The electric chair was easily the worst part of Raw and did irreparable damage to the rest of the show. While it was painful to watch on its own, its damage was further reaching and it bored the crowd for the rest of the evening. A fine match between Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn received very little crowd response. The Can Crushers are all for giving the wrestlers a chance to speak for themselves while involving the crowd. If WWE is going to continue with this program, they need to be sure they have the capable performers. They may also choose to never feature the electric chair again and act like it never existed in the first place. In today's English Tip of the Week, we'll take a look at action verbs. An action verb expresses an action. Any form of the verb to be is not an action verb. For example, be, become, and belong are not action verbs. Kevin Nash stormed the set of Nitro and said, "This is where the big boys play. Look at the adjective. We ain't here to play." There is so much wrong with Kevin Nash's statement, but the most egregious error in his quote is saying that play is an adjective. Play is a verb, and it's an action verb. It describes an action. When Hulk Hogan presented the Hulkster Award to superstar Billy Graham at the 1987 Slammy Awards, his introduction included, "This man dug himself out of the ashes and climbed all the way to the mountain top." That's a very descriptive sentence. But is the Hulkster using action verbs? The answer is yes. Dug and climbed are action verbs. Speaking of the superstar, he was supposed to be on Hulk Hogan's Survivor Series team, but a vicious attack by the one-man gang in Butch Reed put Graham on the shelf for months. It also took him away from his managerial duties for The Rock, Don Morocco. When Morocco screamed into Gene Okerlund's microphone, "If Superstar had to claw his fingers into the ground and scratch his way here, if he had to bite and drag himself by his teeth to be by my side, he would do it." Morocco's impassioned statement about his friend and manager has several action verbs, including claw, scratch, bite, and drag. Which of the following two sentences contains an action verb? "If you're 5'7" with red hair, you belong to Art Anderson." Or, "The Hulkster drops the leg." We know belong is a form of to be, and therefore not an action verb. Also, drops describes the action of what the Hulkster is doing with his leg. So the answer is B. The Hulkster drops the leg. Let's take a look at two more sentences. Ted DiBiase stuffed $100 bills down the throat of Jake the Snake Roberts. Sentence number 2, Ted DiBiase thought about which diamonds he wanted on his $1 million belt. Which sentence has the action verb? This time the answer is A. Stuffed is an action verb. Ted DiBiase stuffed $100 bills down the throat of Jake the Snake Roberts. In the second sentence, the $1 Million Man is just thinking about which diamonds he wants. Thinking is not an action verb. And with that, class,
you're dismissed.
This is the heir apparent Chris LaRusso, and you're listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
Mark, it's my favorite section of all time. It's the garbage tip of the week. And my garbage tip of the week is, it is getting hot as hell out, even with the rain. Please do not leave your animals or your babies in the car with the windows rolled up. You're an asshole if you do so.
Wow, that's not.
I'm right into it.
That's
right
not garbage at all. That's truth. That's hashtag truth.
You're garbage if you do something like that.
I completely agree. If you're having your dogs outside and everything as well, make sure they have water, very accessible. If you're leaving
shade.
If you're leaving your babies outside, you should just go to hell right off the bat. But
if you're leaving your baby outside, make sure it's chained to the tree so it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, that one, the way that you put them both together has blown my mind. I'm okay with saying stuff about the dogs and stuff about the babies, but when you have them together, they kind of don't go together. Like, I can't say, make sure you tie your baby to a tree and leave its water outside with it. No, the baby should actually be inside.
You do see people leave babies out or babies in their car when they run to the store real quick, and that's not acceptable. Even if the air conditioner's on, don't do that. Take your kid with you. That drives me nuts. And this all brought to you because I was watching Snapchat the other day, and a girl in Tennessee right now was videoing a puppy and a baby sitting in there's no pan around. It was just in the car.
Paul,
Tennessee is hot as sin.
It is, yeah. Monday, when we were actually in Tennessee, it was about 97 degrees in the shade with a rainstorm on you. It was flipping hot.
It's hotter than AEW. That's how hot it is in Tennessee right
now. It is. All right, I'll do the shtick, Paul. I will unfortunately be back to work on Monday, and I'm not happy about it, but I'm
not going to lie to you. I can't wait to see you. Oh, I do have bad news.
I know what it is. So you can tell them.
You know what it is.
I have an idea.
I want to apologize. I want to actually thank and apologize Al Snow and Chad Miller for the awesome invitation to come Saturday. We have a playoff game coming up, and we have practice on Saturday, so I will not be able to make it. I really appreciate, and it's actually killing me to throw this fucking opportunity. Sorry, to throw this opportunity away. To throw this opportunity away, but it's not about me. It's about my team, and I have to stick with them.
Right. I had an idea. It was coming. I was going to do something off air, but I like that you did it on air. So even better. Love you.
Hey, Can Crusher Nation, I love you guys, and you support everything that I do, and I feel bad that I can't go, and I want to go, but it's just not in my cards right now.
All right. Well,
and I messed it up, and I got a frog in my throat, and I said the F word on the podcast. So I guess it was just a rough announcement, but I hope that you know from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everything that you've done to get us to where we are, and I'm sorry that I can't make it.
You owe beer next week because of that F-bomb, by the way.
Deal. Holy cow, there was a dog that almost got hit by a car.
All right, well, we're letting Paul go. It's getting out of control. I'll see you Monday.
I love you. Have fun. Drive safe.
Speaking of driving safe, I think somebody else should be driving safe. He's all over the place. I'm glad he checked in, and it is sad to hear that he will not be able to make it down to the combine. Paul, nonetheless, you're my brother. I want to thank John Padalano, the English professor, and Chad Prana for bringing us some great coverage this week. But of course, I'll get into the shtick. Pro Printing in Office, 814-834-3006. They can print you up anything you need, shirts and wedding invitations and so on and so forth.
collar and elbow. You've seen me wear it pretty much all week down here in Louisville. Hats, hoodies, sweats, tees, jackets. You type in OBW and you'll get 10% off when you check out. Where can you find us? Well, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter every once in a while. Everything's the same. It's at CanCrusher69. Send us an email, cancrusher69@gmail.com. And, of course, you can get everything you need right from our website, cancrusher69.wixsite.com/cancrushers. I can't do it as well as Paul, so I'm not going to. But you can find us on Alexa, Boxcast, Overcast, Bullhorn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Buzzsprout, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and the next up-and-coming thing that many people still don't know about, and I want to know why the hell you don't know about it. It is called WrestlePost. It's an app. It's available for Apple and Android. It tells you where wrestling is pretty much anywhere. I actually saw that there was a show in Indiana, which is like 3 minutes away from where we're staying, last night. Didn't get to it because I wanted to do some work on the podcast, but it just shows you wrestling is around you. You can go. So much wrestling. As I said, we will be at the Combine Saturday, but if you are back home in Pittsburgh, Lamont Furnace, make sure you check out Rise as they have a show going on. Our guest next week will be from Rise, Megan Myers. We have contacted her, so she'll be on the show. This Friday's Can Crusher Spotlight will be a combination of talking about the Combine, seeing who we run into the show. Tonight, it's just going to be Can Crusher's special, I guess. Maybe Ethan will be hosting the show. I don't know. I really have no clue what we're going to do with it, but it will be all dedicated to OVW, fans, and the Combine. So on that note, guys, remember, it's been a long show. It had to be a long show. We had to give AEW the props. We're making a little bit of a switch as we're going to cover a lot more. WWE is going to be put on the back burner for a while. OVW will always be in segment number 1. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. See you on Facebook real soon.